So we figured that we can't conclude a trends conversation in 2023 without discussing the concept of generative AI, which is a topic that many seem to be talking about, and one that we do expect will have a dramatic impact on the future of marketing. And we can talk about the concept of generative AI without talking about a term that a lot of you have probably heard, a company offering called ChatGPT, who has emerged as an early leader in this space and which has the potential to revolutionize how humans interact with technology. So in this section, we will dig into that and start with answering the question, what is generative AI and where does ChatGPT fit in? And to do that, just to add to the fun, we have used ChatGPT to grab definitions and explanations on what generative AI and ChatGPT are, which you'll see as we go along is a lot of the value that these tools bring to the table. So we can go to the next slide, and we will start with a definition of generative AI. Generative AI is a class of artificial intelligence models that can generate new data that is similar in some ways to a set of training data. Think of training data as just massive amounts of inputs. So basically, it's a type of artificial intelligence that can create new and usually human-like communications of massive, large amounts of data. Generative AI models can be used for a wide range of applications. The chart on the right just shows the maturity of some of these applications, which ones have been around longer, what's the usage, areas like that. This can range from generating realistic images, synthesizing speech, or generating new text, even producing code. So in its simplest terms, what generative AI does is you ask a question, you provide a challenge, and in human-like ways, it generates responses. Your first thought might be something like Alexa. So technically, Alexa uses generative AI principles, but it is not in and of itself a generative AI model because it finds information and then reads it to you. It does not create its own sentences of information based on data it finds. We won't dig that deep into things, but I feel like Alexa is a good illustration of this. Major players in the space include names like Apple, Google, Facebook, Microsoft, all investing in this. Another company, OpenAI, which you'll be hearing about in this conversation because they are the creators of ChatGPT, which we'll be discussing. So as previewed so deftly in the previous slide, one offering that is really making waves right now is a tool called ChatGPT. And this is a large language model developed by OpenAI that is capable of generating human-like responses to a wide range of prompts and questions. And the human-like responses piece is what's really important. ChatGPT launched in November, and they saw record-breaking adoption with 1 million downloads in 5 days. It's being tested by a lot of different people within industries and their personal time. Early uses include things like creating first draft content or copy generation, which we'll get into in the next slide, brainstorming new ideas, debugging a code. So you could literally go to the ChatGPT site and in a little search box, right, give me ideas for what I want to have for dinner this weekend, or tell me how to live better. And it will literally begin writing paragraphs that you could then use for yourself or express to others. Even writing emails, it has a lot of value. If you're trying to describe a concept, you can drop it in there, see what it writes up in a very human way and see if it can't be applied. So what does all of this mean? What are the implications on advertising, particularly, for your businesses and areas? Well, within marketing, which obviously we're talking about today, a field that relies heavily on creative content, analyzing customer data, optimizing ad performance, we see broad areas of potential impact, and these are both immediate and down the road. On the media side, just some examples. Digital agencies can and are using it to optimize ad targeting, bidding, and placement. In terms of research and analytics, AI can be used to analyze large volumes of customer data and provide insights and write insights in a very human way into customer behavior and preferences. So think about when you analyze data and you try to capture it in words. The analyzation takes skill, and that a lot of that, are things that humans can do. But sometimes writing out what you're seeing and observations is something that maybe you can automate, and then you can come up with the insights and the applications to a business. On the creative side, in terms of copywriting and creative agencies, these tools can be used to generate ad copy, create creative content, including visually. And then in ecom, probably areas where you might be familiar in your the course of your standard outside of work life, this type of artificial intelligence is used to create and inform personalized shopping and product recos, shopping experiences, and support. So think chatbots, things like that. But there are limitations. So in terms of accuracy, the information that gets pulled into things like ChatGPT and then pushed out and written in this human-like way can be false or incomplete, but it's always presented with what we like to call rock solid confidence. So it's kind of like that friend you have that speaks like they know everything, and maybe 70% of what they say is right, but the other 30% sounds right, but it's not. And you just have to make sure that you don't just quote them to all your other friends. Same thing with ChatGPT. In terms of timeliness, there's also some limitations. So specifically, ChatGPT relies on data that is up through December 2021, can't yet scour the internet for newer info. So you're not going to want to use it to kind of mine actual information. It's more for writing out explanations for things. And then in terms of copyrights and biases, these tools may provide info that you don't have the rights to use, copyrights, or perhaps that you would not want to use based on biases that are inherent in the sources where they pulled them. So the bottom line is you want to proceed with caution. You can use these tools, but they're more thought starters. Their ideation is not your final answer. One area where we expect to see maybe the most immediate disruption in our industry, at least from generative AI, is search. As giants like Microsoft, Google mentioned earlier, seek to tap into rising interest and growth potential within this space. So this expected disruption stems from this kind of interesting juxtaposition of how search currently operates and then the nature of generative AI. So in many ways, tools like ChatGPT simplify the concept of search. Instead of providing a list of links, GPT, and if you go to the site, you'll experience this, it sifts through sources and delivers a singular answer, again, written out in very human-like form. And this may be desirable to many consumers, but less search results tends to mean reduced ad revenue for search engines. In other words, no links means fewer ads. In 2022, Google made $137 billion on its search ad business, and their business revolves around selling prime positions in search results, lists of search results, and that need diminishes when you don't have ranked answers. And so, it would seem, we have a battle brewing for the very future of search, at the risk of sounding dramatic. So on the Microsoft side, there is recognition that an OpenAI-powered Bing could truly pose a formidable threat to Google, which Bing to this time, it carries a nice little share and is a good offering, but hasn't truly made a challenge to Google in terms of search dominance. So Microsoft is seeking to seize the moment. They have invested $10 billion in OpenAI. They plan to apply ChatGPT tech into Bing by late March of this year, and also apply new chat and compose features in their Edge browser. Google, on the other hand, has been taking a more slow and steady approach. A huge piece of their business is search. So you could argue that they have a little more to lose in this space and can't just take a stab at something completely new. That being said, Google is a leader in generative AI, and they have been playing it slow. One of the reasons why they're playing it slow, as mentioned, is that their business relies on it. When rolling out and doing a demo of their new generative AI offering, Bard, the demo failed and they took a $100 billion stock hit within days. So as such, no plans are released to include Bard into their search engine. But Google does know that they need to move more quickly. One source, Insider Intelligence, expects Google's US ad revenues to grow just 2.9% in 2023, whereas Microsoft is projected at 10%, though definitely coming from a lower base. And Google also faces threats on other fronts, where Amazon and more social media, as you learned earlier in the presentation, are actually cutting into product searches. So just for fun, one final thing. We went into ChatGPT just to see what would pop out if we put in the words, write me a poem about 2023 advertising media trends. And this is a copy and paste of what was produced. So you have little gems in here like the audience once scattered and spread, now clusters and gathers around screens instead, and other various little zingers. This was all written again by this software, but in the form of a very human-like feel. And if we click again, what we do find really interesting is that it is able to bring in some themes that you definitively see in this and most trends. So short form and long form video pop up in this silly little poem. Augmented reality and virtual reality, influencers, privacy, transparency, and ethics. So again, you can get some really interesting things out of these types of tools and useful information. So anyway, with takeaways and opportunities, a little less formal, but one takeaway is just to test out ChatGPT. If you haven't tried it yet, go online. Funny enough, the best way to get there is probably just to Google ChatGPT and it'll pop up and then you can go visit it and ask it for something fun. If you think a poem about advertising is fun, great. If you have a 3-year-old like me who wants to know what words like after mean and you realize that you don't know how to describe simple words, write in something like describe after. Write in how do I explain ChatGPT to my mom? Whatever you want to do, you'll get some fun results. And then consider use cases for efficiency and effectiveness in more meaningful ways. So you can ideate around marketing opportunities, copy, content, creative, really good uses there. Or for your business's customer-facing solutions, things like chatbots, virtual assistants. There's a lot of applications there being used. And finally, just keep in mind that this area is going to evolve and it's going to evolve quickly. So get to know what ChatGPT is. Get to know what generative AI is, understand it in your personal life and in your business world, and then consider how developments in that space can be used to support your company and stay on top of those developments because this is going to be a big thing looking forward.